I was the last human being to leave Outpost Varan 9, and I left it exactly the way I found it. Clean floors, locked cabinets, power cells in their cradles, every manifest logged and filed with the Vethrani Salvage Directorate through their own intake channel, time-stamped, countersigned, irrefutable. I did not slam the door. I did not leave a note. I turned off the lights and walked to the relay dock and did not look back, because there was nothing behind me worth looking at. That was 7 years ago. I tell it now because someone has to, and because the Directorate's lead archivist, a creature named Sorath Velt, is still, I am told, listed in their internal records as awaiting clarification of transit destination. He has been awaiting it for 7 years. He will await it longer. Let me give you the context, because context is the only thing the Directorate ever lacked. 8 years before I turned off those lights, the Vethrani Salvage Directorate, which is not a government and not a military body, but a commercial licensing authority that had spent 4 decades accruing the administrative weight of one, issued what they called the Varenthi Determination, 41 pages. It declared, in formal regulatory language, that the 17 Earth mission outposts, scattered across the outer shelf, were operating without current commercial salvage waivers, and that absent refiling within 90 days, those posts would be reclassified as unclaimed assets, subject to Directorate recovery. The subtext was not subtle. The Directorate had been bought, or at minimum rented, by the Solvari Extraction Consortium, which had wanted the outer shelf mineral surveys we had spent 11 years compiling. The Varenthi Determination was a legal instrument, in the same way a picklock is a tool. The correct word for both is the same. Our senior attaché at the time, a woman named Caladren, read the determination in the morning. She filed our response the same afternoon. The response was 4 sentences. I have the original. The last sentence read, "The Earth mission acknowledges receipt of the Varenthi Determination and will proceed accordingly." That was all. No protest, no counterfiling, no request for extension. Caladren placed the response in the Directorate's intake system, walked back to her office, and began making a list. I did not understand the list at first. I was a logistics coordinator. Lists were my native language, but this one had columns I did not recognize. Grid references, transit arc durations, waypoint registration codes. She handed it to me on the 3rd day and told me to begin filing. I asked what I was filing for. She looked at me the way she always looked at people who were half a step behind, which was everyone, and said, "We are going where the determination does not reach." We had time. The Directorate's 90-day window, as it turned out, was not a deadline. It was a schedule, and schedules, properly understood, are not traps. They are timetables. Over the next 87 days, every Earth mission post on the outer shelf was vacated. Not abandoned, vacated. There is a difference, and the difference is paperwork. Every post was logged out through Directorate channels, in the order Caladren had specified, manifests signed, power levels documented, access codes deposited into the Directorate's own escrow archive per their standard abandonment protocol, Section 14. We followed their protocol exactly, because we had read it, and because their protocol, which had been written to process the insolvent remnants of failed extraction companies, contained a provision that had never been invoked. Any post vacated according to Section 14 transferred not just its physical assets, but its registered survey archive to the vacating party's individual accreditation file, held in perpetuity by the Directorate's own registry under the vacating party's name, and accessible only by that party or their designated successors. The Solvari Consortium would get the buildings, the floors, the locked cabinets, the power cells. The 11 years of mineral surveys would go with us. I was the last one out. I filed Varan 9's Section 14 paperwork from the relay dock while the dock's thermal locks cycled down. The timestamp is in the Directorate's own permanent record. I know because I checked 6 months later when they tried to file a retroactive recategorization claiming the surveys were fixed assets rather than registered archive. The legal chamber sat on the question for 11 days and ruled against them in a single paragraph that I have also kept. The paragraph ended with the phrase, "as the vacating party's filing makes clear." It is the most efficient sentence I have ever read in a regulatory document, and I have read thousands. I was not present when Sorath Veld arrived at Varan 9. I pieced it together later from the Directorate's own recovery log, which entered permanent record as part of the legal chamber proceedings and is therefore public. Veld led a 6-vessel recovery team. They docked at Vera 9 on the 93rd day after the Varenthi determination, which was 3 days after the Section 14 filings closed. They found the lights off. They found the floors clean. They found the power cells in their cradles, and the cabinets locked, and the maintenance log current to the hour of my departure. They found, according to the recovery log, no indication of emergency egress or distress event. They found, also according to the recovery log, a single document in the intake tray by the main hatch. It was a copy of Section 14, pages 1 through 41, with the relevant provisions underlined in red. Caladren had printed it and left it there herself, 3 days before I arrived to close the post. She told me she had done this. I asked why. She said she thought they might want something to read. The recovery log records that Veld spent 4 hours at Vera 9. It records that he sent a query to the Directorate's central registry, asking whether the Mineral Survey Archive was accessible through the recovered post's data terminals. The registry's automated response, also in the log, cited Section 14 and directed the query to the vacating party's individual accreditation file. The accreditation file is Caladren's. The registry's automated response invited Sorath Veld to contact her directly to arrange access. Her contact information, as of that date, was a relay address registered to a waypoint outside Directorate jurisdiction. The relay address is still active. She has not received a message from Veld, as far as I know. She has not received a message from anyone at the Directorate, as far as I know. I asked her about it last year. She said the Directorate had her address, and they were welcome to use it whenever they were ready. She said this the way she said most things, which was as a statement of fact in a tone that made clear the statement required no response. I did not ask a follow-up question. Neither of us ever did. I should tell you where we went, because that is, in the end, what the title of this account promises. We went to the Anveran Reaches. The grid references in Caladren's list were relay anchor points, 12 of them, distributed across a band of unincorporated space that no commercial body had registered an interest in because the mineral surveys, our mineral surveys, were the only document that knew what was there. We had been filing the anchor points under individual accreditation for 4 years before the Varenthi determination arrived. Caladren had begun the filings the same month the Solvari Consortium first retained Directorate counsel, which tells you something about how much she could read in a regulatory instrument at a glance. Every filing was current. Everyone was in a registry the Directorate did not administer and therefore could not touch. By the time Veld stood in the dark of Vera 9 reading a courtesy copy of Section 14, we had been gone for 3 months, and the first 2 Anveran relay stations were already powered and receiving. I do not know what Sorath Veld thought had happened to us. The recovery log uses the phrase, status of vacating party unknown, 4 times across its 62 pages, which suggests he did not know, or did not want to say. I know what the Solvari Consortium thought, because one of their procurement directors gave a statement to a commercial arbitration body 2 years later, in which he described the determination as having achieved its intended effect with the minor exception of the survey archive. That phrase, minor exception, has given Caladren and me a great deal of quiet amusement over the years. The extraction rights to the outer shelf turned out to be less valuable than projected. The Anveran survey, by contrast, produced results I am not at liberty to detail here, but which I will say the Directorate has since expressed significant interest in. They have our relay address. They have not yet written. The lights at Vera 9 are still off. I have confirmed this. The building belongs to the Directorate. The floors are still clean. Somewhere in their records, a query window is open, waiting for a reply from an accreditation file that will answer only at a time and place of its holder's choosing. They came to recover what they thought we had left behind. They found a door we had already closed behind us, and a set of directions we had not left.